everyone, and welcome back to the Travel With Us channel. Today we will be discussing the top 10 tourist destinations to visit in Cyprus. This minuscule island has a fabulous history. Desired by domains across the hundreds of years, Cyprus' advantageous position has made it a valued belonging for all who rose to control in the eastern Mediterranean. Today, individuals actually run here, yet it's presently to search out the island's seashores rather than to acquire power and greatness. For voyagers intrigued by more than sand and sun, you're in for a treat, as Cyprus has archaeological locales, fine Byzantine chapels, and religious communities and exhibition halls aplenty. It's likewise an awesome spot to go climbing with an inconceivable abundance of interesting, widely varied vegetation. The best part is that it's minuscule that you can, without much of a stretch, base yourself in one town and head out on road trips from that point. Now, before we go straight to the core, support our work by clicking that like button, subscribing to the channel, as well as grabbing that bell for staying updated about our newest videos. Kourion was a significant old Greek city-state on the southwestern bank of Cyprus. In the 12th century BCE, after the breakdown of the Mycenaean royal residences, Greek pilgrims from Argos showed up on this site. In the 17th century, Kourion experienced 5 weighty quakes, yet the city was mostly revamped. The Acropolis of Kourion, found 1.3 km southwest of Episkopi and 13 km west of Limassol, is situated on a limestone projection almost 100 meters high along the bank of Episkopi Bay. The Kourion archaeological region exists in the British Overseas Territory of Akrotiri and Dhekelia and is overseen by the Cyprus Department of Antiquity. There's no lack of antiquated locales in Cyprus, yet Kourion is the pick of the pack. Sincerely arranged across a waterfront bluff with tumbling perspectives on the open country and Mediterranean beneath, it's a mysterious spot. The whole site is immense, yet the most popular spots to visit, while here are the theater and the House of Eustolios, which holds a grasp of fine, all-around saved mosaics. For those with additional time up their sleeves, the enormous Byzantine Basilica region is brilliantly beautiful with its tumbled sections and pieces of mosaic floor. The sparkling oceanside gem in the Cypriot crown, Paphos embraces the lapping cobalt of the Mediterranean on the blustery southwestern rump of the island. Pretty and traveler well disposed of in the limit, the created focus here, referred to locally as Kotopaphos, comes total with palm-concealed esplanades and gurgling in the open-air fish joints. Weeding fishing boats add to the gushing flavor, while blasts of the disintegrating Turkic Paphos fortress, the stone passages of Saranta columns. A middle-aged Byzantine palace that crowns the harbor, a renowned 2nd century Odeon, and the sparkling sands of the Civil Alix beach are likewise all significant draws. Most certainly not one to be missed. Nice Larnaca, on the island's southeast side, perhaps an oceanside hotel, yet it's kept its nearby soul. This is by a long shot the most laid-back base for holidaymakers here. Every one of the offices for sun and sand-based fun can be found, yet the old disintegrating Turkish quarter, called Scala, and resplendent Agios Lazaros, Church of St. Lazarus, give the town a fascinating verifiable edge, while the actual middle has held the air of a legitimate workaday town rather than simply a late spring resort. Far superior, the Salt Lake, just to Larnaca's west, is pressed brimming with herds of pink flamingos during spring, and a lot of slope towns and social vacation spots lie in the encompassing hinterland. Settled flawlessly between two crazy, clean-clad headlands halfway between the much-trampled towns of Limassol and Paphos, history overflows laid-back Mediterranean energies and a genuine Cypriot person from its little grasp of tavernas and natural whitewashed homes. Still, to a great extent immaculate by the beginning of the travel industry, the earthenware beat town is host to nearby ranchers and winemakers and flaunts one sun-sprinkled focal court, Pissery Square, and customary festivals of island legacy. Also, there's an oceanside as well, a half-rock, half-sand stretch that curves its direction underneath the tough precipices of the south coast, simply a short trip from the town. This immense archaeological site is home to an abundance of marble ruins and positions, up there with ancient Kourion as the top authentic site on the island. Meandering along the soil tracks of Salamis between sets of vestiges from an obfuscation of various time frames is an illustration of the immense history of Cyprus. Great Hellenistic sculptures, missing their heads, which were hacked off by over-fanatical Christians, sit in the midst of the vestiges of the gymnasium. Two significant remnants of Byzantine houses of worship remain during fields of wild fennel and weeds, and a humongous supply region grandstands the designing capacity and the executives of what should have once been an excellent antiquated city. Old Salamis is in North Cyprus, however, it's a simple road trip from Nicosia. Rough and desolate Akamas Peninsula National Park sticks out into the expanses of the Med to shape the northwestern horn of Cyprus Island. It's hailed by numerous individuals to be one of the final genuine unsettled areas here. Home beekeeps of endemic types of widely varied vegetation. Today, ecotourism is blasting, and explorers can find ponders like the etched edges of the Avacas Gorge, winding climbing trails that weave past blossoming fields of crocuses and gladioli, thick fir woods, the legendary baths of Aphrodite, and genuinely disconnected seashores for sure. There's likewise a blockhead and green turtle asylum that draws a group on Lara Bay, exhibiting one of the more imperiled marine species in the Med. The Troodos Mountains, in the slope locale of the southwest, is pressed brimming with pretty towns brimming with stone-cut customary houses and cobblestone rear entryways. They are likewise home to a portion of Cyprus' most astounding places of worship and religious communities that hold lively frescoes and divider artistic creations that date from archaic times. The Troodos holy places are so significant generally that 9 of them have been given UNESCO World Heritage status. Employing a vehicle whistling around this area, looking out stone-cut sanctuaries is an incredible outing, yet assuming you just have the opportunity to see one. The Church of Archangelos Mikhail in the small town of Pedilas should be top of your activities list. For self-drive road trip potential, the Troodos Mountains are the least demanding and involve Limassol or Nicosia as your base. To eliminate the getting there are additionally a lot of little shop-style inns in the primary Troodos Mountains towns themselves. Almost certainly, explorers arriving in Cyprus will contact down first in Larnaca International Airport, while the people who select to rush toward the actual city are in for a mixture of antiquated destinations and archaic relics, clamoring, developed shoreline promenades, and pretty places of worship. Start with a visit through the blessed Church of St. Lazarus, the home of the burial chamber of its eponymous New Testament figure, prior to investigating the minarets and mosque arches of the Hala Sultan Tek. Also, once the way of life's checked, Lamarca's sun-kissed Finikudes beach allures with its ocean of beautiful sun umbrellas and lines of Facilakia, dark bean and sheep stew, promoting tavernas. The large hitter site in the Hotel of Paphos is the House of Dionysus, home to a mind-blowing assortment of mosaic floors that are fated for their magnificent safeguarding and dynamic shading. Part of the bigger Paphos archaeological site, which contains the exhumed stays of Old Paphos, the region is home to an assortment of Greco-Roman remains, just as a few other mosaic houses. The House of Dionysus stays the most visited piece of the site, since it contains the best instances of complicated mosaic masterfulness. The house is named after the god Dionysus, who manifests in large numbers of mosaics all through the house, which for the most part portrays scenes of Greek folklore. Fashioned by the Peloponnesian Greeks, straight from the Trojan conflicts no less, Venetian pilgrims, and Ottoman supreme rulers, the same Kyrenia, Gurn in Turkish, stays one of the most charming and old towns on the whole north coast. The city can be observed embracing a shining blue harbor on the edge of the rough Kyrenia mountain reach, and sightseers currently bounce between the sweet-smelling kebab and mise joints here, people watching and partaking in seeing salt-washed kaki, customary fishing boats, swaying out adrift. Try not to miss the impressive ascents of the Kyrenia Castle that overwhelm the eastern finish of the harbor, a solid rampart of Byzantine stone that has made this town such a strategic belonging throughout the long term. What's your next destination? Have you ever been to these places before? If you enjoyed our video, feel free to leave your suggestions, impressions, and thoughts down in the comment section, And try not to forget to click the subscribe button, as well as that bell in order to get notified about similar content. Thanks for watching.